Thank you for joining us, Akindele. Now, today has been a very solemn day of mourning in Nigeria. 7 days have been set aside. Just from a business point of view, what is the reaction and how long? What's business likely to do now?
It is a very sad day for Nigeria and Nigerians, and the news was when the news finally came through that President Yar'Adua had died. I think from a business point of view, he had been suffering from a long illness and had not actually been seen in public for a few months. So the business reaction has been muted. Today is a work-free day in Nigeria, so most businesses have closed down. And so I think when businesses do open tomorrow and the following week, it will probably be quite a muted reaction.
Kayode, this is Sue speaking here. The key issue on the table now for acting President Goodluck Jonathan, after being sworn in officially as president, is of course who is going to be his vice president, because he's got quite a balancing act there to perform in terms of managing the interests between the north and the south of the country.
Yes, that is good to be. That is the key issue at the moment. I mean, President Jonathan has been sworn in. He is the first president from the south of the country, which is a plus, and also helps with the Niger Delta issue and continue the amnesty process. Also, but it's key that his vice president choice balances out the traditional political undertones in Nigeria. So what I think we'll probably see is the vice president will probably be a northerner, but there are various different camps in the north of the country that are angling for that position. So I think it's key to see who he chooses, because that person is probably going to be a front runner for the elections next year.
Now, the reports we're getting from Lagos is that the death of the president is unlikely to affect the financial markets. But what they're saying is that a turbulent run-up to the elections could make investors nervous. How much does this hold water?
Well, I don't think the political landscape changes that much in this, because already most of the main political actors had assumed that President Yar'Adua would be unable to contest the second term. So they've already been positioning, bearing that fact in mind. So I don't think it changes the political landscape that much. What it does do is it brings forward the horse trading earlier, because it's now very key for a lot of interest on who the vice presidential candidate is, because the vice president will be seen as the front runner for elections next year. So instead of the political horse trading to move towards the primaries, it now moves forward into this choice of a vice presidential candidate. I think in terms of the elections next year were always going to be hotly contested. What we have is various quite strong contenders in various different parties who are making a big push for that position. So it's going to be contested, especially in light of President Jonathan's avowed intent to have free and fair elections where every vote counts, as he's mentioned. I think this has heightened the excitement about the election and also the competition for the election next year.
Kayode, just a question around the banking reforms. President Yar'Adua gave his personal support to Governor Sanusi in terms of implementing those banking reforms, but a lot of people saying that Governor Sanusi will not be receiving the same support from Jonathan's regime. What does that mean for his position as governor and also for the banking sector?
Well, President Jonathan has not said anything categorically against that he would not provide the same amount of support that President Yar'Adua did for the banking reforms. I think a lot of that is conjecture. I think on the whole, most people in government and most commentators think the banking reforms are very necessary. Now, what the issue is with a lot of commentators is the method behind some of the reforms put through in the banking sector. I think what you probably see is there's broad-based support for the banking reforms, but the issue really is on the method and its effect on the economy on the whole. I think what we'll probably see is that more input from the Ministry of Finance and other members of the economic management team in the banking reforms in trying to assuage the damage, the inflated effect it's having on the wider economy rather than just the banks alone. I think that's what we'll probably just see going forward.
Okay, I have a quote here from Akinaka Richard, the head of Grassroots Initiative for Peace and Democracy Niger Delta Group. He says his death is a painful one, especially for the militants in the Niger Delta. They'll miss him and the brave steps he took to address the Niger Delta's problems, the amnesty he gave them. What does President Yar'Adua's death mean for this difficult region in the Niger Delta, an oil-producing region at that?
The Niger Delta amnesty was a key plank of his reform program, and he pushed it through. A lot of the militant leaders found negotiating with President Yar'Adua, they liked negotiating with him, and they felt that he had an understanding of their issues, and he was someone they could negotiate with and come to an agreement with going forward. I think it is a blow for the process, but I think President Jonathan has been part of the process coming forward. I think he will continue the process going forward. And that he has said in his inaugural speech after his swearing in, that is one of the priorities for him going forward. So I think it's a loss because a lot of the militant leaders had a personal affinity with President Yar'Adua, and this is one of the legacies of his presidential term. But I think President Jonathan has been part of the process and is from the Niger Delta. So he knows the issues well, he's been part of this process. I think he'll push it forward.
Thank you very much for your insights on this day.